the only person not clapping is my kid in the front row. You can get away with so much at Wanderlust. Like, you don't have to wear shoes. And I think in my next speaker contract, I'm like, unless there's a Ganesha on stage, I'm not doing it. I want a Ganesha and green M&Ms. I think if you're brave enough to be in those moments when it's like, it's just pure anticipation, like you can get drunk on that, you know, and you never get that first moment again. I think that's really the most courageous thing I can do, is just like, look at me, and just be with that, and you get a little bit of a buzz. I want to start, because we're at Wanderlust, I can't get away with this at a corporation. Let's start with some cosmic radio. So, I have to not pass this line. With your eyes open, let's take a deep breath in and out. And then close your eyes. Nobody's watching you. And imagine that your heart is like an ear or a flower that catches everything. And the idea here is that your cells are going to vibrate with just the frequency of these words I'm going to give you. You. You are. You are here. You are meant to be here. Your cells are made of the same stuff as stars. You were expected. You were invited. You are sanctioned. You are ordained. Your presence on the planet affects everyone on the planet. You are your own star. Your thoughts are a galaxy. You are important. You are needed. You are required. You are loved. You are thanked. Deep breath. You can open your eyes. You don't get that at a TED Talk. That's motivational speaking. I've been thinking about you for a few days, and my commitment in creativity is to be current. So what's current for me right now is a discussion around a relationship to prayer. And I want to talk just a little bit about relationship to prayer. And last night before I went to bed, I thought I should really look at what I was supposed to be talking about, which is, I called it the soul of ambition, which sounded good like 3 months ago. And I tell you, half the speakers, we come up with, it just sounds really poetic at the time. And then the day before, everybody asks you what you're talking about. You go, I don't know. So a demonstration. My relationship to prayer used to be, my request is always to be useful, especially before a gig or before I write. And it used to go like this: make me useful. That was my prayer. Make me useful. So you can even see, like, there's this openness, but there's this grasping. I'm looking outside of myself. Make me useful, which presupposes I'm not useful. Make me useful. Make me rich. Make me hot. Bring it. Bring him. Bring her. Take me out of this. It's out. And then I got clearer that my vibration completely changed when my prayer just became, I want to be useful. I want to be useful. And all your energy, you don't have to, you can go. We love you. The energy changes from it's out of me to it's just me and my desire. And I've been really living with this question about desire for the last 3 years, and that's my current creative project. I'm working on a project called Desire. And when I could get myself in that place of switching my relationship with prayer to, my prayer is just what I want. It is my intention. I got really clear that your desire is your prayer. Let me say it again. Your desires are your prayers. No wish is unheard. So the chemistry of prayer becomes about a commitment to fully want what you want. And not wanting what you want, not even giving yourself permission to desire what you desire, I think is like one of our greatest tragedies of the human spirit. So it's about 3 or 4 years ago now, my company ended, it was a bitter divorce, and I had to really quickly reinvent myself. And so I started my website. They don't make your money off your website. It's not scalable, as we've discussed, Kate and I. But I knew that I could help people start a business. And I'm going to call it, so it's got to be something hot, I'll call it a fire starter session. And I'll just put this post out on my blog and see if anybody calls, and I'll make it up as I go. And I called a few friends and said, what should I charge? Here's a price tag. Phone rang, somebody else called, did another session. And then I thought I should take this show on the road. So I did 16 cities in a year, damn near killed me. I did one in Whistler, actually, in somebody's living room. I did them in living rooms. I did one in a pole dancing studio in LA. That was weird. I did them in boardrooms. I never had a Ganesha. They all would have been better with a Ganesha. And in bare feet. And I kept hearing the same theme over and over again. Is it okay to want what I want? And, I was in a position, welcome. I was in a position, my role as like an entrepreneur and, my brand is all about motivating, twinkle in tooth. It was, how am I going to get people to get themselves in a place of giving them permission to want what they want and actually go for it? So when do you apologize to yourself for your desires? When do you shrink from your own dreams? When you're talking to somebody about what you're going after, listen to your language. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. Maybe I should change the timeline. Who's going to show up? Excellence is about being unreasonable. If you're going to create, you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to change your mind at the 11th hour. I see this happen. The call to innovation is, in this safe space here, you've been working on something for months, you've put your money into it, you paid your $500 for your logo, you paid your $5,000 for the website, you're a week away from launching, it's midnight, and you realize it sucks. I don't like it. And you think, I just put all that money in there. And I just told my whole team, my whole team's been following me for 6 months. This is exactly what I've asked for. I've been leading everyone along. I've been saying this is great. And I want to puke when I think about launching this. Or when I think I'm going to give this speech, or this is the talk, or this is the request, or this is the ask at the office. This is not what I want. The difference between mediocre is going ahead with it versus innovation and great and a bold life is stopping the press. The courage to make the 11th hour changes, to call the wedding off, to get up on stage when you weren't expecting to, is the difference between meh and fucking awesome. And I think we all want fucking awesome, because we're all lusty, wandering people. Well, just come right in. But this place is fraught with ego, because you don't want to look like a flake. Because everything you've asked for is here. You planned the wedding. You built the website. You designed that. But if you can park your ego and just take the risk of looking like a flake or a prima donna or an escapist or someone who's untrustworthy or unreliable, this is where the sweetness is. Who here identifies as being an entrepreneur? Oh, awesome. Okay. And do we all identify as being creatives? Creative types? Okay. Yeah? Do you have a question? And I'm going to like totally open this up for questions and stop talking, but if you want to shout anything between now, do you have a question or you're just identifying as being, you're identifying, I am creative. Okay. In the Firestarter Sessions book that I wrote, I talk about your cocktail line. And what I say is that your elevator pitch, your cocktail line, is a sacred distillation of who you are, of how you show up in the world. You will not hear this in an MBA program when they're telling you about how to do your 5-minute pitch. And the reason it's so important to have one is because when you're clear in how you show up, things come to you quicker. You sort of shorten the distance between you and what you've been asking for. So when you meet somebody at a party and they ask you how you are, first of all, how do you feel about the question? Dread? Do you need to go to the bathroom? I'll get you, I'll fill you up. Anybody need a drink? And then how do you feel when you say what you do and who you are in the world? It really matters how you feel. And in your cocktail line, it's not about giving, or it's not about getting, it's not about the dreaded word networking. I'm gonna do a whole blog post on just a bucket of dreaded words. Networking, brainstorming, but please stop brainstorming. Talk about what you're interested in. Boot camp. Please, can we just stop having boot camps for everything? No more boot camp products or launches. One of the reasons being it's overused, but you have to think about the origin of the words. Boot camps are about going to war. People say, we're going to blitz it. And you know what a blitz is about? It's about blitzkrieg. It's about battle. Think about, the sacredness of words. So I think how you show up if you're not proud of what you're doing at the moment is you talk about what you're interested in. And that's where magnetism comes in. So I went to one of many personal development workshops where they try to break you down and build you up and they don't let you pee for 24 hours. And a guy stood up, this was in Vancouver actually, and he stood up and said, I'm a sanitation worker. Everybody's like, sanitation worker? Are you what you think you are? Are you what I think you are? I'm a garbage man. And that's what I do during the day. And yeah, it blows, but it's how I am making a living right now. And what I'm really interested is. And he talked about his work on the downtown east side. And he talked about taking a course at night for investment in import-export. And he appeared, and then we could see the whole person. So I think it's essential to come up with that distillation about how you walk through the world, and it all has to be anchored to what you're interested in. I just met Megan Watterson last night for the first time. We've been like orbiting each other for a long time, and we had dinner together last night. And she did something that a lot of authors don't do, which is usually authors, a lot of us just in the creative space, we identify with our products. So we say, I have a book, and my book's title is, and my book is about, and aren't I great? Megan did not talk about her book at all. I had to ask like 20 minutes in, I was like, does your book have a title? She talked about what she was interested in. And this is why I think I'm here, why I think I'm on the planet. And that doesn't work at all parties, and it's not going to work when you're asking for money necessarily in a boardroom. But I think it works at the parties that wanderlusty people want to be at. So in the spirit of being useful, I'm just going to give you a few minutes on who I am, and then I want to open it up, and we can talk about anything. So who I am is that I'm very interested in the entrepreneurial spirit and bringing that into like very clearly entrepreneurial settings, but really using that in every area of your life. And it's about creativity. I think that I think that the world needs women to lead. Do you know that 80% of women have one breast larger than the other? Something you probably didn't know about all the women in this room. I have a tumultuous relationship with vegetarianism and meat. And I had a burger last night and I thought I was going to get paintballed when I came out of the restaurant because I was at Wanderlust. I love bacon. I married the same man twice. I have 7 wedding rings because I can never commit. Same person. I started a company that was a lifestyle media company, which is just a fancy name for a website. And I raised a bunch of money. And I made myself an employee of that incorporation. And I got fired from my own company. And that was a defining moment for me. And that's what I really learned, that creative sovereignty is bliss. And on my way home that day, white knuckling it, driving home from Granville Island to where I live off Commercial Drive, even though I was just in this trauma of fury, I got fired from my own company. Right there, I just felt this yes. And what became very clear was that my betrayal, my self-betrayal, led to this theater of betrayal around me in business. And there was really, I learned 1,000 lessons in that, eye of the needle and dealing with bankers. And, when bankers are calling your cell phone, it's bad. You're in a bad place. But I learned that you can always take more. That this thought form that you can't take it is just a thought form. Remember once, I was living in Santa Fe, and I just broken up with my boyfriend. I just lost a $70,000 conference contract. I was going to plan a conference for somebody. And I wasn't even legally working in the States. So I never asked anybody for money. I had to call my old man, ask him for rent money. I was smoking a lot of Benson Hedges. And I was walking down the lane with my friend, and I just said, I just can't take anymore. I want my Saturn return, which only people at Wanderlust know what that means, right? And she said, of course you can. You've just told yourself you can't. And I thought, aren't you my friend? Where's the sympathy? And there was a switch. It was like this chiropractic adjustment in my spirit where I thought, I can take more. Bring it on. And in that readjustment of I can take more misery, I opened myself up to more joy and to more assistance. So bring it on. Back to me and what would be relevant to be useful to you. I also have a very conflicted relationship with meditation. I took a meditation break because it was just annoying me. And I'm very interested in conversations around spiritual glamour, which would be a very interesting conversation to have here. My first lesson about spiritual glamour happened in a meeting with the Dalai Lama, because we're like this, the DL and I. And so I went to India. I got invited, there was a group of 6 of us to meet His Holiness. And I'll tell you how broke I was at the time. I was so broke. I got the invite to go. I was like, I need to think about it. Who thinks about going to India to meet the Dalai Lama, right? And I'm just like, I don't how much money do I have on my credit card to get on the flight? And so northern India, Dharamsala, 3 days to get there. And we're in his meeting area. He has a secretary who comes in and kind of gets you set up for the meeting. And before he answered every question, he said, I don't know. We said, can you talk to us about extraterrestrial consciousness? Oh, I don't know. And then he would give you this fantastic answer. When he walked in, he apologized to us. And I was like, dude, it's okay. You do not have to apologize for being late. So sorry for being late. Really? Wow. But in the midst of all of that, I caught myself being very glamored. I'd made this big journey, and wasn't I special? And I had my mala beads, and I had my, what do you call the white things? The katas, the scarf. And of course, I'll tell you, this is how unevolved I am. I was pissed off that the kata that they gave me at the beginning of the meeting, they take it and he blesses it kind of behind this curtain, and they gave me someone else's kata back at the end. And I was just like, this totally affects my experience with the Dalai Lama. But I could feel my mind just going to this place of glamour and like, this is the Dalai Lama. And this is a story I'm going to tell someday in a speaking gig. And I just had to stop and say, but my heart wants to know if he's the real thing. And the answer in my heart was that, yes, to me, he was the real thing. And I think being awake, staying awake in spiritual venues and conversations and events requires a kind of ruthlessness so that we do not get glamoured by our own pursuit of the truth. Because we all look really good here this weekend. There's a lot of hot bodies here. There's a lot of eco-cotton. We are so good. We are so green. There's recycling bins in our hotel rooms. Namaste being pushed out to the world. But is it real? And only you can answer that. It's like Carl Jung says, only the dreamer knows the dream. Only you can interpret your own truth. I have a yellow lab, and my son is here drawing in the front row. What can we talk about? How can I be of service? One word. You can shout a word. You can ask about raising money. You can ask about publishing, published many books. I don't want to talk about Twitter, but for you I will. We can talk about online traffic.
Hello.
Hi, Terry.
I have a question about desire. About how can I really tap into my desire?
Desire is a feeling. My current theory is that we have our relationship to ambition completely backwards. And that all of our goal setting is an external thing. It's back to this, right? Give me this, because I made my list, and I have it in my bucket. I got my bucket list. Help me with my bucket list. And that everything you're going after, everything you eat, you put into your body, the people you hang out with, the things you buy, the clothes you wear, the mala beads you pick out, are all because you want to feel a certain way. So why don't we first get clear on how we want to feel? So forget your strategic plans, forget your 5-year goals, forget your New Year's resolutions. Just first get clear on how you want to feel. So I once ran this theory by my former literary agent, and I said, look, Bernie Madoff, who ripped many people off of millions of dollars, wanted to feel a certain way. And Mother Teresa did what she did because she wanted to feel a certain way. And she's like, oh, you cannot put Bernie Madoff and Mother Teresa in the same sentence. And I said, I just did, I can. And no one escapes this. It's, Rene Descartes, philosopher, I think, therefore I am. I think it's I feel, and therefore I am. So the exercise is very simple. You walk through every area of your life, your relationships, and your rest and relaxation, and your wellness plan, and job, vocation, money, wealth, cash, whatever you want to call it. Your inner life, your spirituality, and stuff. I think there has to be a special category for stuff. That's everything from your yoga mat to your car to the artwork to your home to stuff you bring into your life. And ask yourself how you want to feel in every area of your life. And what will happen is you will see a pattern in that. You will start the same word, different words with the same meaning will start to show up. And what I would nudge you to do in this, everybody says they want to feel successful. 9 out of 10 people will say they want to feel successful. No, you're not allowed to want to feel successful. It's get underneath your definition of success. This is why we're all so screwed up. It's because we've bought into other people's definition of success. Whether it's the Dalai Lama's version of success, or it's a Tony Robbins version of success, or it's Yo Mama's, or it's reality TV, or it's LaPorte, or whatever it is. It's somebody else's definition. So how does success feel? Does it have a smell? How are you going to know when you get there? And there's no guarantees that if you get clear on your feeling, you're going to get where you want to go. But I think you really increase the probability of getting what you want. Because when you have a clarity of feeling, you know immediately how you can get yourself into that state. And it doesn't have to be with grand goal settings. It's not about climbing something or anything extreme. There's this whole theme of extreme now. I even think like Vipassana has become extreme. You know, it's you know, we got like the extreme sport. Everything's a marathon now. Though I'm not getting into Vipassana. So, where was I? Shortening the gap with the feelings. Oh, making it very easy to create that desired state. So I'm clear that one of my desired feelings is affluence. If you look up the definition of the word, it's not just about money or cash or prosperity. It's about a fluidity. So I want to feel a fluidity of energy and a currency, and I want the fat cash too. When I'm not feeling affluent, when I'm worried about cash flow in my business, or there's a discussion about getting the house, paying the house, you know, whatever, tightening up, being affluent that day can be so simple. I can retweet somebody's post and help send some traffic their way. I can make a donation. I got 4 charities that I give to. I can up it that month. I can, instead of walking by the guy on the corner of Commercial and First, I can give him more than the change in my pocket. I can actually go out of my way and like buy him a sandwich, and I feel affluent. When you feel affluent, you attract more affluence. When you feel grateful, you attract more reasons to be grateful. We all know when we feel angry, we attract more things to piss us off. So desire is all about feeling and emotion. I don't know what that was. That's a new thing. That's a new thing. That's me quoting myself. That's a like extreme narcissism pose. Yeah.
Hi, Danielle. I am wondering.
Hi.
Hi. When you're on the track to meh, and it's 11:30 before your website launches, and you know it's going to be shit.
Yeah.
But it's already gone to press.
Oh. That's okay.
What you do to restore the integrity of your project so that you can return back to greatness.
Great question. Okay. Heaping doses, fire hose doses of self-compassion, or you won't think clearly. If you're criticizing yourself for doing what you didn't want to do or pulling the trigger when you shouldn't have, you're not going to be as strategically precise as you need to be. So, well, look at that. I still rock, because we had cosmic radio, and the universe told you you were awesome and you're important, and you don't have to worry about launching. You can always change, and I really think nobody is paying that much attention to anybody. You know, like we're all going home, it's like, I gotta go, because I got a blog. I got a blog tonight. Like, who's listening? Nobody's waiting. Even if you have a lot of traffic and huge subscribers, I guarantee you, they're not waiting for you. It's like, you know, I wait for some albums to drop. Like I was waiting for the new Matasiayu. I've been waiting for Michael Franti. But who cares if they're not waiting for you. So there's that. I think so often we're just not as important as we think we are. And then you don't do it because of this, but when you can do the old kung fu and change quickly and admit publicly that something wasn't quite right and you change, your reputation becomes sterling. You become accessible. You are wearing... Pookie, are you yawning? Wearing your heart on your sleeve is great branding. And you don't do it for that reason, but change quickly and tell the truth and tell it fast. There, I was concise. Tell the truth and tell it fast. Change. And, this leads to a bigger issue about creativity, which is destruction, which this is having like this erotic relationship lately with breaking stuff that I've made. And, like a few weeks ago talking to friends, they're like, I want to shave my head and I want to burn everything I've ever written and I just want to blow my website up. And the answer from, the people I respect the most was, well, you better do that. I'm not going to shave my head because I'm too vain. Although I want to take my kid to India and we'll do it on the Ganges. But you cannot live in that innovative place without destroying stuff and walking away from stuff. So just reading an interview with Bruce Springsteen, and he was talking about his iconic status and how, essentially what he was saying was he got sick of himself when he was at the zenith being the boss. And the only way to move forward is to destroy all that. So what ideas are you clinging on to? What gimmicks have served you well in relationship, in communication, in business that are starting to feel old and stale? If you can't talk about something with passion, if you have any embarrassment, if you don't feel turned on by your own creative output, something's wrong. You've got to feel turned on by yourself, especially if you're giving something to the world. If not, you're not doing anybody any favors. So to get turned on, I think you need to break stuff. And oftentimes it's going to look like losing money. It's going to look like walking away. It will often look like waste, but it isn't. It isn't. It's organic. It goes into the cosmic compost, and it will fuel you. I'm tearing everything apart. I'm taking my website down. I might even burn a book just for fun. So go buy them, but I'm just going to burn one just to get that feeling. Yes. Hi.
First of all, I want to say that I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
And that I flew from New York City. I found out you were going to be here speaking on Wednesday, and I bought a ticket to be here for today.
Thank you.
That's how much I love you.
And you brought a hot dude with you.
I did. It's true. Here's my love.
He's not saying anything. He's just like, don't put the mic in my face.
Okay, so I have a couple of things that really just fired me up when I heard you say them. One is when you said what you're interested and what you believe in is women leading. I would love to hear you speak more about that. And I am right now right on this edge of jumping into writing a book. And I'd love to hear you speak about how you did that. I mean, I know you have the big, beautiful book plan, getting there, but I wanted to hear you in person speak about it.
Women leading. So let me re-language that. I think it's about the feminine spirit leading. So I think it's about men operating their feminine spirit. Still, I mean, I like my men to be men, and we need the masculine. Not that you care how I like my men, but there's something about how women do business that is very timely, a perfect match for our problems right now. I've never been to a business meeting with women, where someone hasn't said, how are you? How is everybody? And do you need anything? And we always come with food. This is how we come with grapes, we come with chocolate, we come with supplies. So there's just a natural caritas, a caring that happens with women. We're inclusive, and there is the intuition. There is, the male energy has that instinct, but that instinct is very directed. So that instinct is about, I think the best way to get from A to B is that way. Or I think the buffalo is hiding over there. Whereas the female intuition is, how do we all get there together? How is everybody's needs included? And one of my lessons in business, and this came the hard way, I used to act like a man because I thought it was going to get me what I wanted, which was acceptance and venture capital. And I felt afraid to just be not vulnerable, because there's lots of times where it's not wise to be vulnerable. And I think that's a mistake women make. It's not smart to cry in business meetings. You need to, there are appropriate times to be very tender. And you have to bring you've still got to have that kind of warriorness about your feminine energy. But there's dressing like a man. There's the objective becoming everything. I used to hear so often in my 20s that it's about the journey. I'd be like, whatever. That is so, it's about results. It's about getting there. And it really is about the process. And how you feel when you sit down to write your book, or give your talk, or raise your children, or ask, or hit the slopes, or whatever, completely, entirely influences the outcome. More play in the process equals more joy in the product. More intuition and instinct in the process equals something that's going to give people more insight. You've got to feel good doing it. If you don't feel good doing it, you need to stop. And it's often counterintuitive to stop, right? When you're exhausted, you're hitting the deadline, we think we need to go more. We actually need to take a nap. And just like a little semicolon on that, that's not just about feminine leadership. Why don't we just work with friends? I don't want to work with anybody that I wouldn't have over to my house for dinner. I used to think that in order to be a spiritual, evolved entrepreneur, that I needed to work with people who saw the world differently than I did. And that always led to heartbreaks or lawsuits or someone being really pissed off. And what I got really clear on, and this felt really selfish at the time, was that I can only, if I want to be in my zone, working my medicine, I can only work with people who have the same worldview as I do. And my two tenets of the cornerstones of my worldview is that everything happens for a reason. It's all progress. And that trust is a form of strength. An open heart is the way to go. And if you believe that, if that's your lens for operating in the world, then get on my bus. And it doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist or a Baptist, if you're a starter or you're a finisher or an intuitive or an extrovert, then we rock. After you have that basic worldview, then you have to find diversity. You need to work with people who are very different than you to lift things off the ground. About publishing and writing books. What were we saying in the car? Chayla, what's your advice for writing?
Oh, shut the fuck up and write.
Yeah, shut the fuck up and write. It's funny, if you write, it gets written. You need to have the spine of your idea for whatever you're creating. Read Twyla Tharp's Creative Habit. She talks about having the creative spine, that every project needs its idea. And this is why if you don't have that core idea about why you're doing it, it gets mushy, it costs you money, your promotional copy is sucky. So you need your creative spine. And how I literally create projects is, I'll tell you how I got there. How most speakers create their talks, or this is sort of the old way, the old training of speaking is, you figure out what your thesis is, your point, and then you find the research, the data, or your own stories, your own anecdotes to support that theory. Wrong. A more holistic way of doing it, as my speaking coach says, it to keep you in the home zone, is you just go through the archives in your psyche and your heart, and you recapitulate, you recall the stories in your life, the moments that have touched you the most, the mantras you've remembered, the people you've met on the street, the urban myths, the wives' tale. And when you add all those up, when you look at all of those will point to your message. Those are the reasons. The reason you're moved with that somehow relates to what you want to give to the world. So what I do when I create, it's all about Post-it notes. I cannot do anything without Post-it notes. And I get a big board, and I write all the stories I've remembered, all the moments that have touched me in recent time, and then everything I just want to put out in the world. And then I create theme buckets. It's all about getting your creative spine in anything you do is all about pattern recognition. And you go, oh, that idea about emotion goes in this bucket here that I think is starting to be about feeling. And this thing about prayer, oh, that's about ambition. And then you just, and you start, and then you have 7 things. And then personally as a writer, I'm a scrubber. It's really an aggravating way to write. So I write, I don't move on. So I do a draft, and then that paragraph has to be perfect. Then I move on to the next paragraph, and I scrub the next one. And I start, and I write in sequence. It's terrible. It's really a grinder, but it works.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
You've kind of briefly touched on the desire topic, but I wanted you to kind of address it in the face of like how inundated we are with information and how to keep clear on, I guess, on your path in the sense of always being distracted. And a lot of what we hear about this weekend is, be present, be present, be present, and how you can do that even with what's going on just in this moment. Because I think I just feel totally overwhelmed.
I have a few
Is
things.
that clear?
Oh, that is so
Okay,
clear.
Thank you.
How about whelmed? How about just being whelmed? Just try it on. Because it's sort of that same feeling of like, I can't take it anymore. We move into overwhelm. And I used to use the word overwhelmed, and I'm just like, I'm whelmed. I'm really whelmed. I'm whelmed with everything to do. I'm whelmed with gratitude. I'm whelmed. And I feel a sense of spaciousness in that. You have to say no to stuff. And I think there's a difference between stupid ambition and wild, crazy, awesome ambition. And stupid ambition happens a lot in Silicon Valley. So we decide, I'm going to create this. I'm going to launch this. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to grow my family. And we just keep putting more stuff on our plates. We just keep inserting. And I'm going to run the half K. And I'm going to do my 3 mornings a week of yoga, 5 for all of you. And nothing gives, but everything, it's corrosive for everything. So I think crazy wild ambition is you're so crazed by it that you have the mental clarity, the devotion. What are you devoted to? That's the hottest question. You have the devotion to say no to everything else. There are people here, wanting to be here who are in their hotel rooms right now this weekend, doing editing on their books, because that's what it takes. How do you say no to this? Well, I'm devoted to this. There's been so many times if I look at my kid, I'm going to cry. Or I think, I say I'm devoted to my child, but I'm tweeting one more time. So what are you devoted to will really help with the overwhelm. And you have to say no. And you have to, my friend Marie Forleo, you got to get the fuck on the no train. And the no muscle, it's a muscle that it takes time. You have to build that muscle. So when you first start saying no, you're going to feel like nobody's going to like you. You're going to feel like you're burning bridges. It's going to make you unpopular. The opportunity will never come your way again. That's the most seductive thing to saying yes to things, that it just makes our plates just tip over. When I start a project, I create my no list, basically, which is some people are not going to get birthday cards. There will be fewer parties. Sorry to say, there will be less yoga so I can finish my book. That's a very real thing. Paintball me later about that. I hope that was helpful. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I have a lot of questions, but I think the biggest one for me right now is my goal in my life is to live at my absolute highest potential. And I believe that that highest potential is to inspire other people to live at their highest potential. So I'm starting a project in a company right now to do that. But I feel at kind of like a standstill point where I feel like I'm not really pushing too hard because I want it to come naturally, but then at the same time, I'm really impatient and I want to get like this progression going. This is really confusing even for myself.
Yeah, you get it.
But I think what I'm just trying to ask is, how do you like just push through these barriers that are coming your way, like when it comes to funding, when it comes to all of this, I guess maybe pressure that you're putting on yourself to get yourself going. It's definitely overwhelming for sure. And maybe it's, oh man, I can't figure out the exact question I'm trying to put out here, but
what's the problem right now? What feels like a problem to you?
I feel like I'm not moving quickly enough in
Okay.
terms of getting the business going and inspiring people. Like I've got the project sort of moving, and I'm going to be working with film and photography and travel and working a lot with the surf culture, but surfers are really slow people.
Dude,
so
yeah.
getting that going is definitely difficult, and like getting people committed has been a really big problem, and surfers are all over the place too, so it's just been really hard to figure out exactly what my hook is and what that niche needs to be. And I really believe in that feminine spirit leading as well. But I've had difficulty bringing women in and committing.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're doing exactly what you need to be doing.
Okay.
You're in the right place. Just keep doing it. Right? Like, oh, it's so good. I mean, isn't that good? Everything you're doing, doesn't it feel good?
Yeah,
I mean, the pressure is unpleasant, but what else are you going to do? What's your other option? To not push? Like, you want to create. So now I'm going to totally contradict that. So I'm going to walk to this side of the car. I'm going to be contradictory here. You never arrive. You're never going to get there. You will know that the sense of you have to really enjoy this, because when you get to the next place, you can be like, well, I should be doing this here now. I never feel like I've arrived. I always want more traffic. I want to sell more books. I want to be better on the mic. I want to kiss better. That session could have been better. It can all be better. And now I have learned to coexist with what you're feeling and love it. For me, I mean, maybe I'm neurotic and this is really bad advice, but it's always there. So I enjoy the process, and I'm always in a hurry. And I mean, this is more personal, but the times when I've been the least creative are the times when I've worked with people who have criticized me for how I move. It's too fast. You go too fast. I go, I'm in the internet business. I'm a horse. If you're a horse, you're going to run. You will always be a horse. And guess what? 95% of the time, who you are and your true nature and how you naturally move through the world will work for you. 5% of the time, it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to run right off the cliff. But most of the time, you're going to get where you're going and you feel like yourself being that. So, I mean, it sounds like you're in a challenging startup phase. Because, like, dude, right? You're working with the dudes. And that just is what it is. If it's too challenging, do something else, right? But it sounds like you love it. But you have to coexist with that feeling that you're never going to get where you want to go. So you love each thing. And I think, and a curative to that, part of helping the coexisting is you have to celebrate everything. Yeah. Ooh, I got, somebody retweeted. And usually I've gotten in the habit of like, oh, I just got that deal. Next. No, stop. Nice card to somebody, thank you note, a cake. It's always about cake for me. Celebrate. Time for one more. That went by fast. You accosted me this morning. You did. It was great. Morning love. That sounded kinky, but.
Sorry about that. Okay, so lots of creativity coming.
Yeah.
You're in the flow of it. It's coming. How do you decipher the projects? They all feel good.
Pick one.
Pick one and do it. Finish it.
Yep.
You can't do them all at once.
No. Next. Yeah, you have to focus. And guess what? Focusing is very painful. It's like putting your babies in that straw basket and letting them float downstream. Just every time you let a good idea go. Oh my God, it's the hardest thing. I find it really difficult. But the payoff, oh my God, you get so much more muscular. You generate so much more momentum and velocity. You go so much deeper when you focus. Pick one. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I mean, you work with, I'm a big fan of coaches and consultants because I think when you get expert help, you can create quantum leaps. You know, if you had $100 left in your business, it might be worth it for you to spend $75 on an expert to get you to the next level. This is why we're all in this together, right? So, where was I going with that? Expertise. Can you sense where I was going with that?
You were telling me to focus.
Right, focus. Right, quantum. Focus hurts so good. There we go. Is that?
Probably do
One more. Let's do one more.
Got a burning question down here.
Okay, so you have this great idea.
Yeah.
You're really excited about it. It wakes you up in the middle of the night and you have to jot down notes.
Best kind.
You have to sketch out ideas. You're going. The blood is rushing. You can't think about anything else. It's amazing.
Whew, I'm getting hot. Yeah.
And then you try to bring it to fruition,
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Or you think, somebody's already done this. Somebody must have already done this.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point?
Mm-hmm. Now I'm sad. Okay, so there's 2 points in there. One is somebody else must have done this. Forget it. Everybody's done it. It's already been done. I haven't said one original thing here. But it's my lens and it's my story, and I'm the only one who can do it the way I do it. Why did it suck?
What looks good on paper doesn't always look good on a canvas. I'm an artist, so the idea on the paper looks really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get it onto the canvas and it's like, it's not working. You paint over it, you start again. You cover it up with collage, you start again. There's layers and layers and layers and layers, and it's like...
I think we need to leave room for mystery. It's not a cop-out of answering your question. But sometimes you don't know why things don't work out. You know, I'm going to get really airy-fairy right now, but you know, your cells may have been adjusted in that process. You may have cleansed something. You may have healed a little pain that has nothing to do with your artwork, with the canvas, that is going to change the way you walk, you relate. I would not, because it didn't work out on canvas, or our ideas don't fly, or the person we want to love us doesn't love us back, do not discredit the being woken up, or the desire, or the ask. Somehow it moved you ahead. And I'll go out on a limb and say, I think if we don't have that kind of faith, we're fucked. If you don't believe that everything is progress, then you're just going to stay home. That's a very somber note to end on. What should we end with? Should we end with a prayer or some poetry? Let's do a poem. Okay. Sometimes you have to decide to rise. You have to push. You have to turn up the volume. Full on, full out, full tilt. You have to reprioritize your aches and your pains. You have to infuse your high sensitivities with courage. And while you're there, just tell fear to fuck right the fuck off. And you have to devote yourself to done. Commit to being one of those people who pulls it off. Do what you say you're going to do. And don't let us down. Decide to rise. Do not rise out of fear of circumstances. Do not rise out of obligation. If you think about it, obligation is a terrible word. Decide to rise because you want to expand your being, your life, your possibilities, because your possibilities are possibilities for all of us. Decide to rise because you want to explore your place in the universe. You have a place. You have a place in the universe. On the other side of the rise, there will be your angel, your deva, your goddess of strength, and she's going to have a goblet of endorphins for you, and she's going to say, drink up. Life wants you to win. On the other side of the rise, there's illumination, and there is ecstasy, and there is bliss. I guarantee it. So make the decision. Decide to rise, because your soul is talking to you. Your soul says, get up. I want you. I need you. I am you. Choose me. Life wants you to win. You are not obligated, but please decide to rise. Thank you, Wanderlusties.